welcome everybody. Let's see if you can hear me. Let's see here. Yeah, it looks like the microphone's on. Today I'm going to be working on the wing as I was the other day. Let me turn on this overhead light. Never can have too much light. Let's see here. And I need to shut this door. We got the vacuum out here. There we go. And we'll go, thanks for the like already. And I'm going to try to give a little better view than I did. I reviewed that stuff last night and it wasn't that great a shot. But anyway, so I've got all the ribs cut. I don't have the half ribs cut or the trailing edge ribs cut, but I have all the ribs cut, and I've started the process of hollowing, and I thought I'd go over this with you. What I normally do is I draw a center line in this rib. That keeps the trailing edge centered and the leading edge centered, because if you remember, I drew a line on the molded leading edge. So when this all goes together, if the lines line up, then you know it's straight. So how I do that is, and this is going to be another boring video, so if you know, if you don't want to see this, you can click away now or whatever. Anyway, I got a tick mark in the center of the rib and a tick mark there, and this is kind of the zen of building it. This wing goes together in 15 minutes after all the parts are cut, laid out, and everything. So what I like to do, I get that center line on there. I like to keep all the holes uniform. So I have a 3-inch piece of wood here, and we're going to make a mark right there. I have a 1/2-inch piece of maple here, motor mount. We're going to make a mark right here, and a 1/2-inch piece goes in front of the stiffener, and then I just eyeball about where the end should come. So how I get those nice holes, you got to clear this out all the time. Take about a 5/8 piece of brass tubing, bigger if you got, and you just skive out the inside with your knife. Sharpen it up from the inside out. Then center it up on the line, right at the lines that you drew there. Give it a 1/2 turn. You got a hole. Give it a 1/2 turn. That way everything's uniform. You know, you could hollow these ribs out so they're a 1/4 inch all the way around, which I've seen. I'm not even sure how much weight this saves. That airplane there, the outboard wing, has no holes in it, and it's 59 ounces, so it's hard to tell. It depends on how good your wood is, but no wood is better than 6-gram wood. And as I'm teaching these light building techniques. 6-pound wood is still 6-pound wood, and no wood is lighter, so it has to weigh something. And it, you know, it's like I say, it's the zen of building. It's not that big a deal to cut those out. Makes it look nice, like you took some pride in your workmanship. So here, next comes the stiffener. And this is kind of important. The stiffener is this piece right here. It goes between the two spars. And I just take it and I put it on there, line it up between the spar notches. Remember, less glue. So 1 drop of CA on there. Then I cut that off there, and I take my notching stick that I made up, cut a little big. If you look here, it's up into the notch there. Then I take the sanding stick and sand it back down to the bottom of the notch. You want good contact between the stiffener and the spars. And there's another one. So we'll do this a few times, and then I'll show you what I'll do when I get to the center. If you got any questions, you can ask in the chat box there. This building business is basically just repetition. You know, I watch a lot of videos on YouTube, model paint. There's a whole lot more exciting things to do than watch me sand. But I just hope that some of these techniques that I put out to you guys help you. Remember, if it looks good inside, it'll look good outside. So I use this gauge here so that when you look down the wing, all these holes are in the same spot. Is that important? No, but just a cleaner job, I think. One thing about this skive method, you do have to clear it. So just take a, you know, something to poke it with and clear out the tube. And if you're so inclined, you can sand the inside of it. I'm not sure that's necessary. I have in the past. I've done a lot of extreme things to lighten these up. I think with what Jim Lynch said yesterday, I think I need to actually do a complete finish video. It's difficult because I can't finish here, but everybody seems to be real interested in how I get those light finishes. And if you don't think I'm getting a 6-ounce finish, you're sadly mistaken. Now you think that this mark would, let's see here. I got all these, where do I got all these at? R4, R5. I got all these on the outboard side. So we want to put this on the outboard side. Keep them all the same. So you got this up, R3 is up. I want to make sure that's right. R3, R8, R7. Yep, they're all on the going to the outboard side. I should have done the end rib to the inboard side, but we'll change that up. And that would be just in case I want to use solid tips. But I think what I'm going to do here, because of the lack of wood, is I'm going to do the Ron Burns molded 16th inch wingtips. Because I have some 16th, but I don't have any real good block left. All the good block has went away. It's going to have to be a molded nose on it too. That's a R3. R2, this is this away. Like I say, this wing only takes about 15 minutes to put together. Takes a lot of time to get the parts ready to go, but 15 minutes to put it together. If that, kind of like a tape job. Can you guys hear me okay? Can you hear me now? I'm going to use that Traxler goofy bell crank too. Okay, great, Craig. I sent you my address. It's actually my work address, but that's where I get mail when I'm here in Ohio. Now these ribs are 3/32, so they're a little bit stouter. Could I have got away with 16? Yes, but like I say, I have a real problem with manhandlers. Okay, great. All around the world. Yeah, we hear you, buddy. Yep. Okay. I'm going to show you a secret on the shear webbing too. You want to cut, number, and fit the shear webbing before you put the leading edge sheeting on. And that'll become more clear as we go. Remember, I think we're in our second day now of working on this, and course, I got more than an hour, and then I spent a couple hours today cutting these ribs like I told you I would, because it's a boring. I have to force myself to do it. It's so boring. What's going on here? Somebody needs to come up with a snorkel that doesn't dry up. Ooh, that's too much glue. When you see the glue puddle and run all over the place, that's too much. Just one drop is all it takes. Otherwise, you'll end up with the 2-bottle glue airplane. And that's 2 ounces extra you don't need. So that's 2, R2. Where's R1? R1 is here. Now let me see here. Gotta think this through. R1. So we're going to do this on R1. That. The reason why this is different is that the bell crank has to swing through this rib. So I have to think it out before I hollow it out. But we'll try to make it look as uniform as possible. So we got the 3-inch mark and this mark, but I think that it's going to swing through that. Now I gotta find him. So there's shear webbing up and down inside here, and Jeff Traxler has designed hey Charles, Jeff Traxler designed a bell crank that misses the shear webbing, and we're going to try this bell crank. I've had it for 2 years now. So let's see here. Going to miss that and miss that, so we need it at least up to there. Okay, I don't want to come all the way back. I want a little bit more meat in the center section, so we're going to come back. That was 3. We'll come back 4 inches instead. 4 inches on that one. And let's see, does it swing all the way forward? I got to have it back here so that the fuel tank can sit back in to here. And the fuel tank can sit back how much? Inch and 3/4, 4 inches, inch and 3/4. So we can have this back 1.5 inches. Right there. it's best to think these things out before you just start going after it. You know, kind of plot your course. So we'll have the others. This is number one. We'll have R number one and L number one cut the same, and then the two center ribs get cut out. Gonna have to change blades, I think. Okay, so we got that, but I still want to put a stiffener in here. Hey Richard, I still want to put a stiffener in it. And let me see here, will it swing if it hits the stiffener? It may or may not, I don't know. Yes, it will hit the stiffener, so we'll just put the stiffener top, bottom, and cut the center out. And then of course it gets the stiffener in that as well. Shear webbing. I think that I will build a box. What happened to my scalpel? It's around here somewhere. It's around here somewhere. But I got new blades, number 11 blades anyway, so we'll use them. Well, I wonder if Jim Lynch is watching. Watching me struggle. They laugh. Okay, I put that stick in there, even though we only have two small pieces here on the top and bottom. The shear webbing will go between those and between that rib, and we're just yes, we're using engineering to take out wood. Remember, you got 4-pound, 5-pound, 6-pound, 8-pound wood. I don't know, Craig, I'll get with you on that. You got 4-pound, 6-pound, 8-pound wood, but there's nothing lighter than no wood. So I make each piece a 1/16 of an inch smaller in different spots. That leaves one piece out times 4. This has eliminated probably 4 ribs at an angle Warren truss. So that's 4 less ribs that you don't need. So that's, that's how you make things lighter. Leave parts off. Okay, so now I need to figure out what I want to do with this. These center ribs are only for built, these all get broke away. I build these wings in halves and stick them together like a foam wing. So you have to have something to glue to. So this is an 1/8 inch center section. So we're going to do this. We're going to cut away. We'll leave a 1/4. This hole here. What's with the pens that don't write? Of course, you end up having to hog this out anyway. You do not need a stiffener on the center rib, because as I've stated, this rib gets broke away when you put it together. It's only for alignment. Okay, let's seeing as that we're playing that way, let's do that. Push this out. So we're going to cut that away. Because as I stated, this gets broke out. This is only to basically hold the spar up. So we need to duplicate that on the other side. And top, left top, right top. Yep. And after the wing is built, I cut this, I measure the fuselage and cut this away and then box that in so that the tank can slide back up to the bell crank. You can't do that. Been doing it that way 40 years. Been doing a lot of crazy stuff for a long time. Okay, we got that done. I need to cut across here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay these out, and then we'll work on the other side. So, in order to make sure the wing stays in the same plane, this is the thickness of our sheeting right here. So you got to have the rib floating in the cradle where the trailing edge thickness and the leading edge thickness of the sheeting, if that makes sense. And it'll become clear as we go here. Okay, we got the bell crank figured out. I don't need this business. Okay, so that's it, fall down. Got my machinist scale, I found it finally. Okay, come on. Okay, I'm gonna run the vacuum real quick. I gotta vacuum all this stuff off here. Yeah, I dropped the knife on my foot. That's a good one. Okay. Turn this down a little bit. See what happens. Okay. Now in order to build this wing correctly, you got to make sure that the ribs are in at a 90 degrees. So we need to make us a square. Now you would think, well, this is at 90 degrees. Well, it's not really. We got to have 90 degrees to the bench. This square ain't gonna work. Find my little one. There we go. We need a square that's square to the building surface, not square 90 degrees, if that makes sense. So which it'll probably be close. We'll see. We'll check it. I don't have enough hands. Let me cut some of this off. It's too much wood to handle. Okay, now I can handle it. Yep, it's close. So we don't have to worry about that. What the heck happened? Go. Hopefully that's right. I'm just making a tool here to get these ribs in square. And you probably say, well, why don't I just use the square or the machinist square or whatever? Because you can't get in there between the ribs. You got to have something small like this. So let's check it again. Still not right. What the heck is going on? Aggravating. Try one more time. Just keep going. I might have to make another one. Okay, how's that? Yay, close enough. Within a couple thousandths. Alright, so now you got your square, mark your 90 degrees. So as I stated, you have to have the thickness of the sheeting up here. So we're going to pin this strip to represent the thickness of the sheeting at the leading edge. And if you don't do this, you'll build a warp in the wing. You'll build, well, it's not really a warp, it would be positive incidence. And then the thing will fly like crap. And you go, what did I do? So you're putting the center line of the if you don't put that in, you're putting the center line of the leading edge down a few degrees, and the airplane won't track right. Okay, the spar is up off the work surface, the same amount as the sheeting. The trailing edge is on, so that's up. It should be all blocked up and ready to start assembling. So we'll put the center rib on. Now, I'm going to adjust this for perfection, because as I stated, I want this thing to be absolutely perfect. If somebody ever bought this wing from me, they'd get a perfect wing. What's going on here? That's left. We'll get the first rib set. You just line it up with your lines that are scribed in the buck, and perfect with the trailing edge. Drop a CA, it's square to the building surface, because we got our square here. Okay, one rib down. So now I can pin that back where it belongs. See, I was getting some resistance because it doesn't matter how good you try to do this, even laser cut. There's always the difference in a pen line and the sand line. It's just a few thousandths, so you have to, I've got this floating here. You have to kind of let it float and see what happens. So we'll put the second rib in here. Make sure it's down on the spar and down on the sheeting up there at the top. So we got it. Yep. Now, why would you imagine that I'd want these absolutely perfectly square? Because if you don't, when you put the sheeting on the front, there's gaps. Well, we didn't buy these bucks. We cut them, but Bob Hunt, they come from Bob, they're already marked. They're already cut, already marked. As you can see, by doing it this way, you get perfection. You don't have to monkey around with leading and trailing edge blocking and rods and just all that old nonsense. Where did R3 go? That's 2. There's 3. Make sure that where you've marked these ribs, you've sanded them in this orientation. Make sure that those go up. Everything's got to stay the same orientation that it was in the buck, in the core. That way the airfoil stays correct. And we'll go out here in a minute and get the sheeting and see if it's ready. I think it is. I mean, if I wanted to, I could finish this wing tonight, but I won't. If I were at home and building, I would just go ahead and knock it out. Okay, Craig, have good flights. We still have to make all the half ribs too, which is a bummer. They suck. I hate making those. They suck. Uh-oh. Says we're not receiving enough bandwidth. The stream okay still, guys? I think I might have to stream in crap mode with YouTube acting the way it does. Always something with YouTube. There, it went away. You can tell how fast they build just by watching this. The only thing that builds faster would be an I-beam airplane. Now, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that everything stays straight and everything stays where it's supposed to be. This corner right here on the trailing edge has to line up perfectly with the outside of the trailing edge. Otherwise, when you glue on the sheeting, the 3/16 cap on it, it won't touch it, and that's useless. I still have to figure out where the hinge blocks go, and I have to cut some balsa wedges to go in there before I cap it up. Now, when you're building this light and you're using engineering, instead of wood to make strength, you have to first remember that all the joints have to be tight. Everything has to fit perfect. I got to move this over so I can see what's going on here. Everything has to fit perfect. There it is. Average watch time 10 minutes. There we go. So we've been on almost an hour again. See, how does time fly when you're having fun? So in an hour's time, I got one half of the wing put together. Aside from cutting the parts, which if this was a kit, we could just zip it together. And I'm only taking this long because I'm trying to explain the process to you and my process of thinking. Now here, I'm pulling away from the trailing edge, so I'm going to undo the spar here and pull it back till it butts up with that. And you say, well, that's not fair. Yeah, well, it is fair. Everything's got to fit perfect. If it ain't perfect, it ain't worth doing. So now, for some reason, we've there we go. Oh, that spar's too deep. That spar notch is I cut too deep. Okay, let's see what happens here. So this goes back over here like so. Okay. That's 7. Okay, 8. Remember, numbers up. Two more, then the center top spar can be laid in there, and we'll have half a wing. And then I'll break it off the table, sand up the end so that it's perfect, so they can be glued back to the other side. Then put them back together and build the left wing. R9. That's not how Bob does it, but that's how I do it. It's worked for me in the past, so. It's 6 o'clock. there any questions on this lost foam setup? Real simple. Okay, last rib. You guys sitting there watching me, I hope you're sanding. Because you too could have a new airplane, just that easy. I mean, look what I've accomplished in, 3-4 hours. It doesn't take long. So now we need a spar to go up on top. I've already cut these, so this should fit in perfectly without a big rigmarole. So we got, what do we got here? I have to sight down it. There seems to be a slight snake. There's a little bind right here. Okay, so it's that rib R5 needs to be relieved. You don't want to have any pressure on these things when it goes together. Because when the thing gets soft with dope, that pressure will pull the wing, if that makes sense. So sight down the stick here and do any relieving that you got to it. Kind of snaky. Let's see here. Still R4, so I got to move R4 forward slightly. There we go. Now in a perfect world I wouldn't have to do that, but it'll be fine. And that's it. I don't know about Master Builder, but so the pieces that are left to go on this, we've been on an hour now. The pieces that are left to go on this are, of course, the sheeting. It's out in my car drying. But look how much wood we didn't use. Remember, I had a 6-ounce wing with all this wood, and this is all the wood I didn't use. And I wish I had more room here. So all this wood I didn't use gets taken off that. This will be a 4-ounce wing. Okay, so I can set that aside. Of course, you got to remember, glue is very heavy. You got to stay away from the glue. Now I'm just going to set this on here, sight down it, make it sure it's not a snake. Because I don't want to glue that on until I have my hinge blocks in. So did I cut those pieces big enough? These are my trailing edges. And yes, they're just barely big enough. This will get glued on the back. What I was going to get into, since we're using engineering instead of lumber to make this wing strong, the shear webbing, that the half ribs or quarter ribs that go in between each one of these wide bays, and the shear webbing to make that a V tube, not a D, but a V tube, and box this all up, is what makes the trailing edge strong enough to hold the load in a hard G turn. Now, our leading edge is a D tube, but it's really a C tube. The reason it's a C tube is that the shear webbing is not one solid piece, but we're going to put the shear web in with 3/16, and it goes all the way from the center, and I'll go out to here with 3/16 shear wood, and then out about to here with 1/16 inch shear webbing, and then from here on out there'll be no shear webbing. You could put some X truss in there, but if you're just carrying around extra lumber, you don't need. As a matter of fact, I've built many airplanes where I've just come out to here with 3/16 shear webbing, and everything out here, there's nothing. There's no 16th, there's no nothing. So that's all if you got light wood, you can go ahead and add that 16th. On the inboard side, of course, you got the lead outs have to pass through, so you can't have that shear webbing out past probably L7 or 8, somewhere in there, because the rib is hollowed out oval so that the lead outs can pass back and forth. But basically, this is just like college bridge building. And I've looked at those bridges that the college kids build, and the ones that I think I could build them stronger, to be honest with you. Because the workmanship wasn't that great, but the ones I've seen, there might be, some out there that are really nice, but I haven't seen them. So anyway, we've been on an hour and 5 minutes. I want to thank you for watching. I might come back later, depending on how I feel after dinner, and work on it some more. If you want to see me do all this stuff, I mean, that's great. But like I said, we're in no rush to finish this. This is a giant Continental is what it's going to be. It's going to have the wing fairings on it and the nice tips that I have on the Continental wings. Not like those, but the nice one. Craig is looking for some wood for solid wing tips. I don't know. Solid wing tips are nice, but remember, it's better to have no wood than 5-pound wood. Alright guys, appreciate you watching. Like, subscribe, and share. Hey, become a paid subscriber. Hit the join button now. That helps the channel out, helps me out, helps Rusty out, and we surely appreciate it. So until I see you again, maybe later tonight, fair winds, tight lines. See ya.